Let's be real for a second. We've all seen the doom and gloom stories about AI, right? Robots taking over, the end of the world. But the real story of artificial intelligence is honestly way more subtle and a lot more interesting. We're going to dig into how AI is quietly reshaping our world, not with some big, loud explosion, but with a silent, profound revolution.
And you know, when you think about it, this makes perfect sense. The Industrial Revolution didn't exactly send out a press release. The internet didn't knock on the door and ask for permission. They just happened. And AI is doing the exact same thing, right now, spreading silently through lines of code and business plans. It's not announcing its arrival, it's simply here.
Okay, and this is the first thing we really need to get straight. It is so easy to look at AI as just a tech story, you know? To focus on the latest gadgets and the coolest new software. But if that's all you're seeing, you are missing the entire point. You're missing the massive web of money, people, and power that AI is completely rewiring from the ground up. Because at its absolute core, this is a story about wealth. It's about power and economics. It's about who wins, who gets left behind, and how the fundamental rules of how we create value are being rewritten literally as we speak.
So the big question is, why now? What was the spark that caused AI to just explode out of research labs and become this global flashpoint? Well, it really just comes down to a few key things hitting a tipping point all at once.
So 3 things changed, and they changed practically overnight. First, AI became actually usable. The tools stopped being these quirky experiments and started delivering real, measurable results. Second, it got cheap. I mean, what used to require a massive corporate budget is now in the hands of a freelancer with a laptop. And third, maybe most importantly, it became visible. When you see your coworker use it to draft an email, the abstract idea of AI becomes very, very real.
And that, of course, brings us to the part everyone's a little nervous about: jobs. But here's the twist. The real impact isn't showing up where most people thought it would.
For decades, the story was that automation was coming for factory jobs. But the big surprise? AI kind of went straight for the so-called safe, white-collar jobs. We're talking about entry-level analysts, content writers, paralegals, even junior programmers. These were supposed to be the stable career paths, and now they're right on the front lines of this whole shift. Now, this is the crucial part to understand. We're not really seeing these mass layoffs that people were so afraid of. What we're seeing instead is this quiet squeeze. AI isn't firing the entire team, it's just making it possible for one person to do the work that 3 people used to do. It's all about radical efficiency. Let me show you a really simple example. So, picture a typical company, say back in 2019. They might have a team of about 30 finance analysts. You know the drill. They're running reports, working on forecasts, checking for errors, a standard, totally human-powered operation. Okay, now fast forward to today. With AI tools that can automate all those reports and help with the forecasting, that same company might only need 12 analysts to get the same or maybe even better results. See? No big scary announcement, just fewer new hires and a slow reduction over time. That is how disruption actually happens in the real world. And this crazy efficiency, it doesn't just change the number of people on a team. It fundamentally changes how wealth gets created and, way more importantly, where it all ends up. The economic engine driving all this is something we can call the amplification effect. It's pretty simple. If you already have an advantage, like a ton of data or a bunch of computing power or just a lot of capital, AI takes that advantage and just multiplies it. It's like giving a race car a rocket engine. The lead just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, this isn't even a new idea. It perfectly illustrates a classic investment principle from Warren Buffett. He's said for years that the best businesses have a moat, a durable competitive advantage. Well, AI is basically creating the biggest, deepest moats we've ever seen. And that's leading to these winner-takes-most markets, where just a few companies capture almost all of the value. And this concentration of power, it isn't just happening with companies. It's a global thing. Right now, nations are in this frantic race to figure out how to manage this powerful new force. And of course, everybody's taking a totally different approach. You've got the European Union, which is all about regulation and ethics. Then there's the United States, pushing hard for market leadership through pure innovation. China sees it as a tool for state control and strategic dominance. And India is trying to leverage its massive scale and talent pool. There's no single playbook here. But you know what? They all face the exact same fundamental problem. Policy is slow, it's deliberate, it's designed for stability. Technology, especially AI, is fast, it's chaotic, and it's built for disruption. And that creates this huge, dangerous gap where governments are basically trying to regulate last year's AI, while tomorrow's is already being built in some garage.
So with all this massive change happening, What's the real risk for us, for individuals? Well, it's not really about losing your job to a robot. It's actually something a bit more nuanced.
The real risk isn't job loss, it's skill irrelevance. See, all those routine, repeatable tasks are losing value fast, simply because AI is amazing at them. The skills that are becoming more valuable are the ones that require human judgment and context, things like strategy, complex decision-making, and real, genuine human connection.
We've seen this movie before. I mean, think about it. When spreadsheets showed up and automated all those manual calculations, accountants didn't disappear, did they? No, their jobs just evolved. They moved from doing basic arithmetic to doing analysis and strategy. AI is doing the same thing, just on a much bigger scale. It's pushing all of us up the value chain.
Okay, so understanding this big shift is one thing. Knowing what to actually do about it is something else entirely. So how do we prepare for this new world without just panicking? Let's break it down into some practical steps.
For us as individuals, the path forward is pretty clear. You've got to go beyond just using the latest AI app. Try to understand the principles behind how it works. Then, take what you're already an expert in, whether that's marketing or law or medicine, and figure out how to combine it with AI's power. And finally, double down on developing those uniquely human, judgment-heavy skills.
Now, if you're an investor, the message is actually pretty simple. Ignore the hype. Seriously, instead of chasing crazy valuations, look for businesses that are using AI to build a real, durable advantage by making their operations fundamentally better. You have to think in decades here, not quarters. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
And for businesses, the key is to start treating AI like electricity, as essential infrastructure, not just a gimmick. The smartest companies out there are upskilling their current employees to use these new tools, not just blindly replacing them. They get that building trust with their people and their customers is every bit as important as building efficiency. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that the future isn't being automated, it's being amplified. AI is a tool. It magnifies whatever we point it at. A good strategy becomes a brilliant strategy, faster. And a bad decision, well, that can scale just as brutally. It puts all the responsibility right back on us. So, I'll leave you with this question. In your life, your career, your business, is AI an opportunity you need to seize or a threat you need to manage? The choice really is yours.